Wonderful.
To tell me, because he doesn't have his laptop set up.
I see. Today is going to be a pretty interesting segue into something more fascinating.
I got my waves of devotion.
That's okay. I'm sorry.
Did you study, when did you start to really study? You grew up with it, with reading the Gita?
To an extent, yes, but I came to Krishna consciousness 21, 22 years ago. So.
Okay. Oh, it's a long time.
Long, short, depends.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
So you started memorizing like 20 years ago or so?
About. So we are going to start from chapter 12. But before we start, let's offer our Mangalacharan prayers and then start. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Matsamo nasti papatma naparadhi chakaschana parihare tilajjame kimbhruve purushottama bhumau skalitapadanam bhumireva valambanam tvai jata paradhanam tvameva sharanam prabhu govinda vallabhe radhe prarthaye tvamaham sada tvadiyam iti janatu Govindo mam tvayasa Radha Radhita Radhesha Radhika Prana Vallabha Radha Ramana Vande Tvam Radhika Prema Nirjita. Hare Krishna. So today we'll study from this 12th chapter onwards. So just to give a brief recap, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided into 4 parts, or 4 quadrants, 4 directions. And which direction are we studying? The eastern direction. And the East, because like an ocean has different sides. For example, we have Atlantic Ocean in the west and Pacific Ocean in the east or west, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you look from. Similarly, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Ocean of Devotional Mellows, has 4 directions, and we are in the eastern direction. And since the ocean has waves, there are 4 waves in the eastern direction, and they are Samanya Bhakti, which is devotional service or description of devotion service in general. Then it is Sadhana Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti is devotional service in practice. And then after that comes Bhava Bhakti, which is devotional service in ecstasy. And then Prema Bhakti is devotional service in love of Godhead. So we are going to study 19 chapters for the Bhakti Sastri class, and out of which the divisions are, the first chapter deals with the characteristics of pure devotional service. Chapters 2 through 16 deals with Sadhana Bhakti. And then chapters 17 and 18 deals with Bhava, and then 19 deals with Prema. Actually, we just, it's like seeing the trailer. Bhakti Sastri reading of Nectar of Devotion is like a trailer. You hear about this extremely beautiful quality of Prema, and then we are done. Because the southern part actually starts with what Prema is, and what are the different divisions of Prema, and how Prema manifests, and how it flows, what are the symptoms. In any case, if Krishna so desires, we'll do that sometime. But we do the southern part as a part of Bhakti Vaibhava. So
Prabhuji, what else it covers out of like 20th onwards? Is the Prema Bhakti?
20th onwards, the southern portion actually has 5 waves, which are called different emotions, which are Sthayi, Vyavichari, Sanchari, and so many gradations of Prema. Then how the Prema flows, who are the recipients, or what stimulates Prema, and what are the qualities of Krishna that actually attract the devotee. Many, if you see Krishna, some aspect of the Lord, stimulates or excites that love within the heart. What are those different characteristics of Krishna? And what are the different symptoms? For example, perspiration, laughing, sometimes there is indolence. There are so many qualities that are manifest on the body of the person who's experiencing that love. And Rupa Goswami goes into detail on what sort of characteristics are there. For example, there is, because we are saying love of Godhead, strictly speaking, when you establish a relationship with Krishna, it's called Rati, not Rasa. Rati means a particular relationship. But actually Rasa means to experience that emotion when all these factors combine in. We are digressing, but I'll give a little flavor before we go. For example, a mother, she already has a relationship with her child. But, for example, when the child is slowly crawling towards fire, there is like a big fire going on, and the child is crawling towards the fire, then the emotions of the mother, they erupt like anything. And that experience of love is different than when the mother takes the child in her lap and feeds. So there are different emotions that come out of that relationship, and that's all discussed in the Sadharan. And in the further portions, the 5 primary relationships, and then in the last, secondary relationships, mixed relationships, and things like that are discussed. So there are overall 51 chapters in Nectar of Devotion. So coming back, so from chapter 2 through chapter 16, we are doing Sadhana Bhakti. And up till chapter 14, it is okay, before we step, what are the 2 divisions of Sadhana Bhakti? In English, they are, in Sanskrit, it's called Vaidhi and Raganuga. but are in the English they are like devotional service under regulations and spontaneous. So we are going to read up till chapter 14 the devotional service that happens under rules and restrictions. So, when we perform, Michael, the initial rules, for example, if you go to army, initially the soldier has to observe so many rules and regulations of army. But later, when the soldier matures in the army, those regulations don't seem regulations, it's spontaneous. And sometimes they can do things beyond the regulations, but still it is known that they acted out of some sort of impetus. But in any case, we'll start with the 12th chapter, and then we'll go a little more quickly. Otherwise, we have a lot of ground to cover. Try our best to cover. I have no pressure to cover completely if we don't have an in-depth discussion. So if need be, we are definitely going to have one more class. According to the calendar, this was supposed to be the last class. And then we had exam on the January 19th and 20th weekend. But we couldn't cover all the portions, so we'll have one more class sometime in January. And then we can cover in depth. So in the 12th chapter, in the chapter 6, Rupa Goswami gives 64 characteristics of pure devotional service, and out of which the 10 which start with do, the next 10 are don'ts, and then another 44 items of devotional service. That makes it a total of 64. And amongst the 64, the 5 most important items are? Pardon? 5 most important items. Not the spiritual master.
Living in Mathura.
Yes, perfect.
And having association with devotees, pure devotees. And worshiping the deities.
Bhagavatam study.
And
Chanting. 5. So those are the 5 items, 5 most important items. In chapter 12, we haven't come to that aspect yet. We are almost in the final stages of completing those 5, the last of the 12, last of the 64. So let's turn to page 101. Hare Krishna, is there anybody online before we start? Just wanted to acknowledge you. So if you can press *6 on your phone to unmute, say Haribol, and then press *6 again to mute. Anybody online? Yeah, Sudeep sent me an email saying he couldn't come today, so yeah, he's one of the consistent persons online. So.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this Vittal here. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Vittal, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for attending online.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for taking the class.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's Neetu here.
Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji. Thank you so much online, for coming online.
Sure, Prabhu, my pleasure.
Anybody else? Apart from Vittal and Neetu Mataji? All right. So let's go. We are reading on page 101 of Nectar of Devotion. For those who have a different copy than the one which I am holding, then it's on chapter 12, which is titled Further Aspects of Transcendental Service. So, we don't have time to actually map the 64th item, which of the item we are, so we can quickly go. If you are interested in mapping, you can do so later. So, hearing the revealed scriptures, and Srila Rupa Goswami gives what are revealed scriptures, and those includes Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, Upanishads, and Vedanta, and any books in pursuance of those revealed scriptures. Because one of the things is, if those books are not like revealed scriptures, then we are wasting our time reading Nectar of Devotion, because it's strictly speaking not a revealed scripture. Right? Because is this a Purana? No. Is this Vedanta? No. Srimad Bhagavatam? No. Then why are we reading this? Because any literature which is in pursuance of Vedic version is also bona fide. And Srila Rupa Goswami was especially empowered by Mahaprabhu to write these books. So these are completely potent and bona fide books to read. Then the next item in that particular thing is residing in Mathura. I don't know if there is one copy for Mataji. Residing in Mathura. Is there an extra copy for Kumari? Oh, okay, listen. Okay. The next item is called Residing in Mathura. And Srila Rupa Goswami quotes from various other Puranas saying what is the importance of residing in Mathura. He says that if a person gives up residing in Mathura, then he lives in, and then he is, this is one thing which we need to read. Let me read that. Residing in Mathura on page 101. In the Varaha Purana, there is a statement praising the residential quarters of Mathura. Lord Varaha tells the man of the earth, any person who becomes attracted to places other than Mathura will certainly be captivated by the illusory energy. In the Brahmanda Purana, it is stated that all results of traveling on all the pilgrimages within the three worlds can be achieved simply by touching the holy land of Mathura. In many Shastras, scriptures, it is said that simply by hearing and remembering, glorifying, desiring, seeing, or touching the land of Mathura, one can achieve all desires. So the question is, since we are so far away from Mathura, are we captured by the illusory energy of Krishna? Right. That's the where there are where one cannot live physically in Mathura, one lives mentally through mind in Mathura, being constantly absorbed, and that point comes up later. Then the next item here is rendering the service to devotees. Yes.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
So Mathura includes Vrindavan and Mayapur, or no? So
Vrindavan and Mayapur are not different. So in the strict sense, they are both. They include either of the places. But here Rupa Goswami specifically mentions Mathura. Okay. So the idea is that we are attracted to the pastimes of the Lord as He reveals them in Vrindavan or Mathura. Please understand the other thing is that Mathura and Vrindavan here, they are interchangeable. Because Mathura is at 168 square mile district in northern India. That includes Vrindavan, so many other pastimes. So, in one sense, Mayapur and Vrindavan, or Mayapur and Mathura are not different. But Rupa Goswami here, he's asking people to think of Krishna in his form in Mathura. But please understand that you go to Mathura through Mayapur. Meaning to say, you get mercy of Vrindavan through mercy of Mahaprabhu. Then the next item is rendering service to devotees. And there are many beautiful statements here where Krishna says that worship of my devotees is better than me. Hare Krishna. So worship of my devotees is better than me. And then the other statement Krishna says is, those who claim to be my devotees, they are not actually my devotees, but those who are devotees of my devotees, they are my devotees. So there are so many statements that kind of confirm that, serving devotees. And then serving the Lord according to one's position, based on one's capacity, one should serve Krishna. Then performing devotional service in Kartik, it's as one of the items in devotional service. Especially in Kartik, we offer ghee lamp to Krishna. And we perform other kinds of services. Because Kartik is important for the Vaishnavas, it's dear to Krishna. You had a question, Raji?
Why Kartik is important? Is there?
Well, it's honestly there in Padma Puran, the glories of Kartik are there. We can read up here. Let's go on page 103. We are on page 103, and performing devotional service in Kartik. If you see under that heading, paragraph 3, in the Padma Puran, it is said, the Lord may offer liberation or material happiness to a devotee, but after some devotional service has been executed, particularly in Mathura during the month of Kartik, The devotees want to attain only pure devotional service unto the Lord. So Padma Purana gives a lot of information, and our acharyas have quoted this one. And there is also the Purushottam Mass and other things that are there in ISKCON, but my understanding right now is that this is the only one that is like highlighted. So Kartik is still important. Then the next item on page 104 is observing the festival celebrating Lord's activities. In this case, it's like Janmashtami, the other, Lord going on a swing, for example, the swing. And then in India, there is also the Chandan Yatra, wherein the whole deity is covered in sandalwood paste. This happens during the hot months where the deity becomes very hot, and they apply sandalwood paste to cool the deities. So those are kind of activities which are mentioned here. The next item in that list on page 104 is serving the deity with great devotion. Due to lack of time, we won't go through all the details in each of the items. Then the other next item is recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam amongst devotees. So there has been considerable debate, but it is mentioned that one should actually read Bhagavatam in association of devotees, because in that association, the meaning of Bhagavatam becomes very strong and potent. Bhagavatam in of itself is sufficient. There are many, many statements actually that describe the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's said that in Bhagavatam, in whichever house there is Bhagavatam present, the devotees are not even reading it. In that house, Lord Narayan resides with all the demigods. He is there in that house because the Bhagavatam is there in that house. But if one really wants to relish the true meaning of Bhagavatam, then it is recommended that one read Bhagavatam in association of devotees. And there are, Srila Prabhupada describes at length about reading Bhagavatam. Then moving on to page 106, associating with advanced devotees. Here, this is a topic which has been discussed at length. What is the power of associating with those who are advanced? And then the last item there is chanting the holy name of the Lord. So, then there are many instances, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes from scriptures about the power of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then the last item in that, on page 108, is living in Mathura. One might question one thing, that if you see on the first page, which is on page 101, one of the items in the bottom, it says residing in Mathura, and then the last item also says living in Mathura. It seems to be an apparent repetition here. I tried to research to see what is the difference. Honestly speaking, I couldn't come up with a conclusive answer. What is the difference? But my understanding is that here, at least in the last verse, it is mentioned that even if you can't live in Mathura, if you want to desire to live in Mathura, still that is potent enough. Even if you want to live, see, touch, serve the land of Mathura, that is potent enough. That's the only difference I could read just from the reading. I tried to see why is there, acharyas have said, is there like a specific difference, why there is repeated. The only thing I could come up with is, A, it is the importance. Just if something is very important, it is repeated. B, the other thing is, there is to be slight difference. The first one seems to be telling living actually in Mathura. In the second, it is like at least thinking, longing, seeing, touching, serving the land of Mathura. Then that is even potent. So there is no conclusive answer. Even I try to read from this book, no conclusive answer. Even from this book, no conclusive answer. So
we already said that if you are mentally, you are in the Mathura also, right? Is it same as residing in Mathura? And the second one is living in Mathura is even same as mentally, or is the...
Sorry, Raji, I am sorry, I didn't get your question. I didn't understand it.
So I think there is no difference, as you said, right? So both are mentally should be well, right?
Yes, yes. Even though there are two principles, by mentally residing in Mathura, both the principles are met. But having said that, if one can go, if you go to India, if you get a chance, please do go to Mathura. At least it is said, even if you stay there for a day, for an hour, it's still beneficial. So, questions, comments before we go to chapter 13? Chapter 13, so if you see the last 5 items, serving deity with great devotion, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam among our devotees, association with advanced devotees, chanting the holy name of the Lord and living in Mathura, they are the 5 items, and those have been given more importance in the 13th chapter. So if you see, let's read the first chapter because it will give us great hope. Those who are online, we are going to read from chapter 13, which is 5 potent forms of devotional service, and we are reading paragraph 1. Rupa Goswami has stated that 5 kinds of devotional activities, namely residing in Mathura, worshipping the deity of the Lord, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, serving a devotee, and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, are so potent that even a small attachment for any of these 5 items can arouse devotional ecstasy, even in a neophyte. So potent. Any one of these items, not just like all of 5. If one has attachment to any one of these items, then you get devotional ecstasy. And he goes ahead and quotes the shlokas from scriptures, primarily from Srimad Bhagavatam, which give proof to those particular principles, 5 principles. The whole chapter is about that. Any other questions in this? Again, I wish we could discuss in depth at each point, but we have to just quickly move on.
Probably I will go back to 12th one. So hearing the revealed scripture, right?
Right.
It's mentioned Ramayana and others like Mahabharata. So is it Ramcharitmanas is recommended or not?
Ramcharitmanas is written by Sant Tulsidas, right?
So how it's...
So my understanding is that any literature which is in disciplic succession and which follows the conclusions of the original scriptures, they are bona fide. So I haven't read Ramcharitmanas, so I'm not sure to give a right answer or not.
Because I read, I heard so many lectures from the others, ISKCON Swami. They mentioned about Ramcharitmanas. They quote so many things, but some of them don't. That's what the conflict is, and I wanted to clarify whether it's recommended or not. So
some of them don't. I don't get it. Some quote from Ramcharitmanas and some don't.
Some even don't like it to think of Ramcharitmanas.
I see.
So that's what
I see.
the question is. Is it recommended?
I haven't read it, and I don't know what the other thing is. I don't know what sort of conclusions are there in Ramcharitmanas.
So it's the same. I read every year and
Yes.
every time, and it's a glorification of Rama, and for you it's just Ram glorification, and everything is there. So I find no difference, but somehow so that's what I was confused because
I see.
some of them is.
I see.
So, Prabhuji, is there a difference between Ramayana and
Yeah, so because I like to
Ramayana is written by Valmiki in Sanskrit. Ramcharitmanas is written by Sant Tulsidas, more in Hindi. So, similarly in Telugu, there is a version of Bhagavatam which is written by Potana. And then so many people have translated the scriptures into their vernacular languages. But the point here is, if they are not themselves devotees and accepted as spiritual master, then presenting the meaning of the original scriptures may become distorted. That is a general principle. So having said that, I don't know much about Sant Tulsidas. I don't know his philosophical inclinations and stuff like that. So I can't give you a definitive answer. Yes, please go ahead. Kumari Mataji, just give her the mic, please. It's somewhere here.
See, Valmiki Ramayana is Sanskrit. So it is hard to understand, everybody cannot follow. So Tulsidas Ramayana is a real story, and he was realized soul. Mm-hmm. He saw Rama and Lakshmana, Maruti, everybody he saw. And he was told by Rama in that story that to write this story, Ramayana, in local language so the people understand. Mm-hmm. So that was protected by Rama, he was blessed by Rama. So that story is real. And it's a devotional story.
Nice.
They can read it. All the people can read it.
Nice. Thank you. See? That's good.
Okay, I also read every day. I also read every year.
Nice.
It's same with Ramayana. Valmiki also I read. But this also I read. But it's very nice story. Very nice. You should read.
Some conflict is there, and I was talking to one of devotee. He came from Vrindavan and he said, no, don't read that. So kind of there was some sort of confusion. But when I read Radha Govind Maharaj lecture, he always talked about this Ramcharitmanas, and he very well too. Because he was describing about the Vibhishan when he come to the center of Rama. So he was completely kind, that portion, and he take all the Tulsidas, this one. So that's what I was trying to.
Okay. So bottom line is, I don't have a definitive answer. The other thing is, probably we can see also in Veda base to search what Srila Prabhupada comments about Tulsidas Ramayana. And that is the definitive answer to what he says, rather than what I say or somebody else says. Nice point. Any other points? All right. So let's go to chapter 14, devotional qualifications. This is a pretty interesting chapter, actually. So let's read the first paragraph, because that kind of gives a little bit of flavor for what this chapter is all about, first two paragraphs. Chapter 14, those who are online, we are reading from chapter 14, titled Devotional Qualifications. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually that is not a fact. But actually that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected, for devotional service is dependent on nothing other than sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. Reading on. It is the opinion of the expert devotees that mental speculation and artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes are therefore not favorable for entering into the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself, is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause and effect of all that be, and to approach Him, the Absolute, the process of devotional service, which is also absolute, has to be adopted. So this is like the theme of this whole chapter. Do you really need knowledge and renunciation? Or in other words, a person who is very renounced or very knowledgeable, is he a devotee who is capable of experiencing these emotions of serving Krishna? In fact, the scholars say no. Initially, we may use the knowledge to come to certain conclusion. Yes, God is great and I have to serve Him without material motives. But apart from that, to take constant help of knowledge and renunciation, thinking that I'll fast for 2 days, I'll get Krishna, that mentality is not helpful for devotional service. There is a story here. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was born in Navadvip in West Bengal. He grew up as a scholar. Right from the birth, he was an incredibly intelligent boy and he would master all the scriptures. But till certain point in his life, he did not manifest his true nature as a devotee of Krishna. And in that interim period, he was extremely an arrogant scholar. He wouldn't care for any high professors of learning. He would go and debate everybody and challenge anybody, and he would defeat anybody. Only after a certain stage, when his father passed away, he consoled his mother, and he went to Gaya, which is a place in India where traditionally people go to offer oblations to their forefathers. It's a place in India, Michael. It's a place in Bihar. It's where people... Bodh Gaya, yeah. Bodh Gaya is in Bihar, right? Yes. Okay, thanks. Yeah. So, the people go there every year to offer oblations to their departed forefathers. So he went to Gaya, and then when he saw the lotus feet of Vishnu, he became transformed into ecstasy, and he manifested his true quality as a devotee. And when he came back, he was having these constant kirtans at the house of Srivasa Thakur. Every night he would have kirtans. Initially those kirtans were very private. Only few chosen people could actually see the Lord sing and dance the holy names of Krishna. And one day, and usually Mahaprabhu, when he would dance behind closed doors, he would sometimes say, "Today I'm not feeling some ecstasy. Is there some person who's not supposed to be here is here?" And Srivasa Thakur would look into the house, see if there was some unauthorized person to watch, and necessary action would be taken to kind of rectify the situation. So one day, Mahaprabhu started his dancing. And then he said, "I'm not still feeling this ecstasy. Is a certain person who's supposed to be here is here?" Srivasa Thakur said, "No, my lord. All of your close associates and companions and confidants are here. There is nobody outsider. There is only one person here, and there is this brahmachari. He's such an austere brahmachari that he just drinks milk, and he doesn't even eat, leave alone fruits. He doesn't even eat anything, and he's so austere, and he's just been like that since childhood, and he wants to watch." And then Mahaprabhu became furious. He said, "You think this renunciation is going to help you achieve Krishna? There are monkeys which are living in the forest which eat only fruits. Are they pure devotees of Krishna?" And and then that brahmachari, he understood the heart of the Lord, and his pride in his renunciation was broken. He thought, "I was thinking myself as a great renunciant, that I was only drinking milk, and therefore I had the qualities to achieve Krishna." But the Lord himself is corrected. And he walks out, and then Mahaprabhu, seeing that his attitude is humble attitude, he calls him back and gives him his mercy. But the point here is that one may think, "I'm so renounced person, I should get Krishna." But just by that renunciation, the heart becomes very hard. You forget what actually is renunciation versus what is not. I'll tell you a simple example. If you don't have the proper intelligence to discriminate, that same so-called renunciation actually becomes an impediment. If you take, Mahaprasadam, which is the sweets or any food which is offered to Krishna. Now, prasadam is when the devotees cook the feast, offer it to Krishna, we have it. But Mahaprasadam is is the foodstuffs that come directly from the plate that is being offered to Sri Krishna. Now, if you get a sweet from that plate, and if you take it to a person who's is quote-unquote very renounced, and you give him that sweet, what nonsense, this is sweet. I'm so renounced person, I can't eat sweet. But the point here is, do you even know what that sweet is about? Do you know what that sweet is going to get you? In the same vein, if a person who's having devotional attitude, take him that sweet, oh, this is Mahaprasadam plate, wow, this is being tasted by Krishna, if I can taste this, then see the heart is soft because of devotion, whereas hard with renunciation. So if it is, the renunciation is not done in a proper spirit, then it can actually be impediment to devotion. But then people will say, great, I can do whatever I want. My heart should be soft. Actually, that is not true either. So, that's not true either. So, there will be another question though. I am not renounced, which means I have material desires in the heart. So, then how is that going to work? You say you shouldn't be too renounced. I still have material desires which I haven't renounced in the heart. You still are asking me that you just, do bhakti. How is that going to help? The answer to that question, did you get the question first? Because renunciation, the heart should be clean to serve Krishna. If the heart is not clean, then you cannot serve Krishna. But you are saying don't renounce everything because you become hard-hearted. This is like a catch-22 situation. Rupa Goswami gives the answer to that. That's on page 114. Michael, you doing okay? I'm just happy to see you, that's all. I didn't ask you today. I didn't ask you how you are doing, so that's why I asked you. All right. Hare Krishna and Priyamantaji. So the answer to that question is on page 114. It's on paragraph 3. Actually, a person, everybody there? Actually, a person who's developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. That's the answer to that question. So if we take bhakti, bhakti is capable of destroying the unwanted material desires within the heart. It may take a long time for some, it may be very quick for some, but be rest assured that bhakti is going to destroy the tendencies in the heart. And you can see that. People who are doing devotional service, their material needs are not as much. Neither do they need a lot of material desires to keep them happy or to a lot of sense enjoyment to keep them happy. Slowly it will go away. It's just a matter of time. The seriousness with which we discharge devotional service, with that it's proportional to the destruction of the unwanted things within the heart. So, I'll just let me complete my thought and then because I'll forget it. So this is if someone thinks that I'm so-called devotee, I'm devotee, but I have so many dirty things in the heart. Yes, they are there in the heart. The whole thing is that we have taken up to this process to cleanse our heart. It's like I should be fit before I see a doctor. Why do you need to see a doctor in the first place if you are fit? Or I'm so sick that nothing will help me. Not even this medicine which the doctor says. Arey Baba, take it and try. Makes sense? Yes, Raji.
So, in 13, these are 5 potent forms, right? So, if you choose one of them, that is also towards the devotional services.
Yes.
And here, we are mentioning about the instruction of the bona fide teacher, right? So, that connect to previous one. If you take a bona fide and then follow this one of them just go with that and.
So, taking the shelter of a spiritual master is the first item in devotional service. Once you take up the shelter and get initiation from a spiritual master, that spiritual master can, based on your tendency, guide you towards the process which you choose most. For example, a person takes second initiation, but his heart is not too much into preaching. Maybe he likes deity worship. So the spiritual master channels that tendency like that. Somebody is into deity worship. Somebody is into reading Bhagavatam. Somebody is into chanting. Somebody is into kirtan. I want to do kirtan. Based on your spiritual master channels the tendency of that disciple into one of these 5 forms. Because Srila Prabhupada writes that at many places he writes that if you do it under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master.
So the chapter 13 is also with the bona fide spiritual master.
Yes. And in that, association of the devotees is included in there. So, yeah. Other questions? So, then the question that needs to be resolved here is that how do we approach renunciation as a devotee? What is our attitude, or what is our tendency to renounce or to accept? So we'll continue reading on page 114, and then the chapter immediately, the one which we read last, Srila Rupa Goswami. Everybody there? That's the second chapter from the last. Srila Rupa Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything enjoyable which is in relationship to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary and one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste. So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna rather than for the satisfaction of tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered it to Krishna. Then it is renunciation. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation, and by such renunciation one is able to satisfy the demands of the senses. So the devotee's attitude towards renunciation is that everything related to Krishna, we accept it. Everything unrelated to Krishna, don't. Simple. And the Mayavadis or the materialistic or the impersonalist people, they'll see everything, this is matter, reject it. But what if this matter is used in service of Krishna? The problem with the Mayavadis is they think that even God, when he comes to the world, he becomes matter. That deity there, it's matter. But from the Vaishnava perspective, that deity is as spiritual and as potent as Krishna himself. If Krishna can pervade everything, why can't he accept that form so that he can be visible to our eyes and accept our service? He can definitely do that. And anything offered in relationship with Krishna, his garland, his dress, everything is spiritual, is purifying. That is the difference. But everything that cannot be offered to Krishna or is not offered to Krishna, something you don't. That is the... otherwise, what happens is it becomes a black and white thing. This is like, it's easy actually. If you have that kind of black and white, then you know that, yes, this is good, this is bad, this is spiritual, this is material. But spiritual life is often gray area. Because Krishna's material, everything belongs to Krishna. Matter, spirit, everything belongs to Krishna. So, something spiritual, Krishna can convert it into something material. And something material, Krishna can convert it into spiritual. I'll give you an example. Most of the people who are conditioned, they have this body, and by Krishna's mercy, the true spiritual soul is completely thinking himself or herself as material. I am born in this country. This country is mine. The people around them are mine. This community is mine. That community is not mine. This dog is mine. That dog is yours. The idea is this solid material conception for a pure spirit soul. That is, Krishna converted something spiritual into material. And if Krishna so desires, something which is material can be converted to spiritual. So that is the Yukta Vairagya. That's the verses we have to memorize for this semester. Prapanchakatya buddhya, hari sambandhu vastana, mumukshubi parityago. So, yeah. How are we doing on the exam? We have a month to go, maybe? All right. Thank you. Other questions? So Rupa Goswami says that if you renounce just based on matter and something material which is also has relationship with Krishna, then that sort of renunciation is dry renunciation. But the optimum renunciation is to accept everything which is related to Krishna as useful. Questions? Raji? Michael? Question? You had any questions? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So 115. You had a question, Varun? Yeah.
In general, on this topic of renunciation, right? Like we were reading chapter 2 yesterday, and I mean, I think the general concept is like, if you fill with positive, like that's a better way than sort of trying to kill negative.
Right.
And I think sort of that concept works, at least for me. Is that, and I think the whole concept of is to engage all your senses towards positive. Sankirtan, Prasad is all basically toward that direction. If you do that, then sort of you don't have to spend cycles in killing negative.
Excellent. The negative will automatically drop off. Nice. Wonderful. Thank you. And the beauty is that if you try to fight negative without having the positive, you may try. It may happen for a little bit, but then again you jump back to the negative.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen from personal experience that it doesn't sustain.
Right.
It's very enlightening in the first few weeks or months, but it doesn't sustain.
Right. Yep.
And I think so. I was making slides for chapter 3 in Karma Yoga, and then I mean that is the concept, right? There's one slok there which says you cannot, even if you want, you cannot do like no action even for a second.
Right.
So you have to do some action.
Correct.
So what action do you do?
Nice, wonderful. So let's read chapter 115, the last paragraph. This does not mean, however, that we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglecting abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed herein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all principles regulated by authority of the spiritual master. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of devotional principles, not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. The spiritual master as the visible manifestation of Krishna is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the next page, on page 116, first paragraph. The spiritual master must never be carried away by an accumulation of wealth or large number of followers. A bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. But sometimes if a spiritual master is not properly authorized and only on his own initiative becomes a spiritual master, he may be carried away by an accumulation of wealth or large number of disciples. His is not a very high grade of devotional service. If a person is carried away by such achievements, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of disciplic succession. So this clears everything. You cannot accept and reject things based whimsically, but on the basis of the authority of spiritual master. And that spiritual master also should be a bona fide, and he should be carrying out the orders of his spiritual master. Otherwise, it's not just spiritual master is all in all onto himself, with no authority above him. Because we are in the chain of disciplic succession, it has to come down from the top. And nobody is just saying that I'm independent. Somehow I become spiritual master, I make my own rules. No, sir, you can't. You can adjust the rules, though. Here's the point. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to West, 64 rounds, he said. Then, many devotees said we couldn't do it. He adjusted it to 16 rounds. But the essence was the same, that you have to surrender to Krishna. And great acharyas like Prabhupada, empowered acharyas, they can adjust the rules and regulations a little bit based on the time, place, circumstances. But otherwise, if one is not empowered, then one shouldn't think. Srila Prabhupada adjusted, maybe I can also adjust. He adjusted it to 16, I'll adjust 2 rounds a day. Yeah, beautiful. There are a lot of beautiful points, but any questions? So this kind of ends the thing of any questions thus far? There is one point I was trying to search. It's about Varnashram Dharma. See if we can find it. I'm sorry, there's one very important point I wanted to mention, but I failed to mention. Please forgive me, but let's go back to page 111. Those who are online, Hare Krishna, we are going to page 111, or in the 5 potent forms of devotional service. There is one point, last paragraph. Let's read that. Some scholars argue, everybody there? Okay. Some scholars argue that simply by following the principles of Varna and Ashram, one can gradually rise to the perfections reached by practicing devotional service. But this argument is not accepted by the great authorities. Lord Chaitanya also condemned this idea while he was talking with Ramananda Rai about the gradual development of devotional service. He rejected the idea of the importance of Varnashram Dharma when it was put forward by Ramananda Rai. He said that the advancement of Varna and Ashram is merely external. There is the higher principle. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the Lord says that one has to give up all other principles of elevation and take simply to the method of Krishna consciousness. This will help one in achieving the highest perfection of life. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord himself says, one should execute the prescribed duties of Varna and Ashram as long as he has not developed the spontaneous attachment for hearing about my pastimes and the activities. In other words, the prescribed forms of Varna and Ashram are the ritualistic ceremonies of religion intended for economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. Let's read that verse. It's a beautiful verse, 11:29. It's there on the Shloka book, I believe. It's on page 278. For those who are online, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter, 9th verse. It's a beautiful verse. We'll repeat it together. Everybody there? Okay. Okay. Please repeat after me. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanadau va shraddhayavan na jayate. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanadau va shraddhayavan na jayate. As long as one has not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of Vedic injunction. So here it is mentioned that Varna and Ashram are to meant one to bring the common mass of people to the standard of devotional service. If that is not... So there is a tendency, I don't want to be a devotee. Okay, what do you want to be? I want to be a businessman. All right, there is Varnashram Dharma. You just, you have no faith in Vishnu. You have nothing to do. Then at least follow the rules and regulations of Varnashram. Give charity, do business in an ethical way. You treat, you learn some basic knowledge. Then, and maybe offer your fruit. So in that sense, when you follow the rules and Varnashram, then you think, okay, there must be some higher power. I'm getting some satisfaction in doing this stuff. What is that higher power? Oh, that higher power is Vishnu, Bhakti. So the thing is, once you reach that stage, then you are neither a businessman or nothing. You have nothing to do with business. So Varna and Ashram are meant to elevate one to the platform of Bhakti. If you are there on the platform of Bhakti, it doesn't matter what you do as far as Varna and Ashram goes. But please understand that Bhakti is also, it's a incremental stage. When you are in the early stages of Bhakti, you just cannot go to your boss and say, bye, I got Krishna, I don't need you. No. It's immature way of doing things. Because we employ the principles of renunciation by Rupa Goswami, saying that we need to use the work for doing our devotional service. That work also has its place in our bhakti. But the difference is the work doesn't become all in all. Our devotion doesn't go to work, but our devotion goes to Krishna. And our work just becomes a means and tools to help that. Right? People, they work hard and they are devastated and distressed when they don't get promotions or when they don't get their raises and they don't get so many things. For them, life is work and work is life. Without one without other is impossible to live with. And in this country, we see how disgruntled workers, sometimes they take weapons and go back to their former places of employment and do all sorts of work, things which we don't have to mention here in this class. But the point here is work is just work. It's something to maintain your body. It's not all in all. Our bhakti is to Krishna is all in all. So if you have that attitude, whatever comes at work is no big deal actually. And the other thing is, truly speaking, you can never be happy completely trying to get promotion, trying to get so much success at work. If that was the case, all the CEOs and the CFOs and all the persons with big titles, they must be the most happy people. In fact, it's the opposite. They're the most stressed out people. They are so much under stress. My point is, you worked hard to achieve something to be happy, but that made you more stressful. So what is it that you are actually trying to achieve? And nothing to speak of the fact that it takes a severe toll on your health. I mean, there are many devotees who are CEOs and they are able to balance. If you are like that, great. But the point here is those who think work is all in all. And work is the summum bonum. Not the summum bonum. As Vaishish Prabhu was telling in yesterday's class, he was talking of Sachin Tendulkar about how, He was a great sportsman, and then people would say that cricket is religion, he is God. The thing is, there is a natural tendency to glorify somebody, but when you place it in any place other than Krishna's lotus feet, it's not going to satisfy. Because please understand, the religion of cricket will remain. There will be so many gods coming up. This is the Indian context, is the sportsman worship, or worshipping a sportsman as almost God. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of an American counterpart. Somebody who's achieved such extraordinary fame. Maybe Michael Phelps. In that context, swimming is my religion, Michael Phelps is my God. So something like that, to paraphrase. So, swimming is my religion, tomorrow X will be God, because somebody will come and he'll break Michael Phelps all records, and then... So in that way it just goes on. But the thing is, the soul has a tendency naturally to glorify something bigger, something higher, something wonderful. And if you see how wonderful is Krishna, you just can't stop glorifying him, because he is truly worth glorifying. And that glorification is so wonderful that you are completely satisfied at the same time, and you are so dissatisfied you want to keep on glorifying at the same time. Sorry, lost track. But anyways, questions? Because this is the end of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. The next two are Raganuga Bhakti. Chapter 15 and chapter 16. So till now, we were talking of rules, we were talking of regulations, we were talking of, obeying the rules either out of a respect for our spiritual master or fear of Krishna. If I don't follow these rules, he'll punish me. Krishna will punish me. Might as well follow these rules. Or you know what? I shouldn't kind of disrespect my spiritual master. I should do it. I personally don't have taste, but I should do it. That is Vaidhi. That is like following bhakti under rules and regulations. But the chapter is, till this point, its end. In the sadhana bhakti, the next state is called spontaneous attraction to Krishna. The stage will come wherein you don't have to do it for the sake of being obedient or being fearful, but it's a natural state. So let's read a little bit, introduction, and then we have about 35 minutes to go, so we'll try to cover as much as we can. Chapter 14, for those who are online, we are reading from chapter 14, Devotional Qualifications. Page 113, first paragraph. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. 15. My apologies. Sorry. Page 119, chapter 15, titled Spontaneous Devotional Service. Examples of spontaneous devotional service can be easily seen in Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Ragatmika. These beings do not have anything about devotional service. They are perfect in all regulative principles and have achieved the spontaneous loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who has an older version of this book? Everybody has? Older one? Yeah. So here, the spontaneous dealing of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Ragatmika. In older book it is written as Raganuga. That's a mistake. There's a gulf of difference. So the dealings of the devotees of Vrindavan, they are called Ragatmika. Raganuga Bhakti is a person who is aspiring to follow the Ragatmika Bhaktis in Vrindavan. Let's read that. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice on how to play with him. Right? In Vrindavan, there was not a training school how to play with Krishna. You have to get trained in that school to play with Krishna. No, they automatically went and played with Krishna. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. Their spontaneous attitude is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami has defined Ragatmika Bhakti as spontaneous attraction for something while absorbed in thoughts of it with an intense desire of love. Devotional service executed with such feelings of spontaneous love is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Devotional service under the heading of Ragatmika can be further divided into two categories. One category is called sensual attraction and the other is called relationship. Here, you may ask why are we discussing Ragatmika Bhakti? Because the sadhana has two forms, which is Vaidhi, which is under the regulative principles, and the second one, which is spontaneous, which is called Raganuga. But why are you bringing up Ragatmika Bhakti here? The reason why we are bringing up is because first, Ragatmika Bhakti is briefly discussed. The actual intense discussion of Ragatmika Bhakti happens in the southern portion. But Raganuga Bhakti is a byproduct, is following the Ragatmika Bhaktis. That's why Ragatmika Bhakti is first discussed, briefly. Sure. Can I read a little bit more and then I'll come back to that point? It'll really help. All right, let's read a little bit. In this connection, there is a statement by Narada Muni to Yudhishthir in the 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse 30 of Srimad Bhagavatam. There Narada says, "My dear king, there are many devotees who first become attracted to the personality of Godhead for the purpose of sense gratification, and from being envious of him, out of fear of him, or from desiring to associate affectionately with him. Ultimately, these attractions become freed from all material contamination, and gradually the worshipper develops spiritual love and achieves that ultimate goal of life, desired by pure devotee." The gopis may be considered to be example of spontaneous love and sensual attraction. The gopis are young girls and Krishna is a young boy. Superficially, it seems that the gopis are attracted to Krishna on the grounds of sex. Similarly, King Kamsa was attracted to Krishna because of fear. Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna, and because it had been foretold that his sister's son Krishna would kill him. Shishupal also was always envious of Krishna, and the descendants of King Yadu, due to their family relationship with Krishna, were always thinking of him as one of their members. All of these different kinds of devotees have spontaneous attraction for Krishna in different categories, and they achieve the same desired goal of life. Let me repeat that, Natalie. So, Ragatmika Bhakti is the bhakti which is found in the residents of Vrindavan to Krishna. And when we reach perfection in our Vaidhi Bhakti, which means we do our rules and regulations, when you come to Raganuga platform, you desire to serve Krishna according to one of the residents of Vrindavan. As you keep perfecting your sadhana bhakti, I want to serve Krishna as a mother or as his father. Then, in the Raganuga stage, you actually try to meditate upon Krishna as his father, following the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj. That is Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti follows in wake of Ragatmika Bhakti. Ragatmika devotees are already perfected, whereas Raganuga devotees are not perfect, but they have cherished to serve Krishna in a particular mood, and that mood is Raganuga, spontaneously. You don't think of, for example, in the Raganuga stage, the devotees, it is said they don't follow rules and regulations. One fine morning you get up, I want to serve Krishna and I want to make him this nice thing. And you completely are absorbed in making that, following how Mother Yashoda would make it for Krishna. So that is Raganuga. Spontaneously you are attracted. There is no impetus. Oh, it is said in the rule book, I have to go do this. No, it's just completely spontaneous. But please understand, this doesn't happen just like that. And if you do it whimsically, then it's not... One might think, I am thinking like that. Your thinking is not good enough, sir. It has to be sustained, it has to be very deep, and it has to be following the footsteps of some devotees. Not that I desire. Because in India, we see actually, it's a perverse thing that many men, they dress like women in form of gopis. They think they have become already gopis, and they put on sari, put on lipstick, bindi, this, that. They think they are already like gopis of Vrindavan, even though their heart is not clean. In fact, there was a story about how an inspector general of a police, he was actually doing all these things. At night he used to dress up in like women, put on, and it's just a perverted reflection of the sentiment with no substance in them. It's more deeper than that. And it's also mentioned here that the devotees who are actually advanced, they don't externally exhibit that. Externally they behave as neophyte devotees, but internally they are meditating on Krishna on that particular mood. So then you may ask, Prabhu, how can I recognize a Raganuga devotee? You cannot. Unless we are there, we really cannot. We can't know the heart of a person on what his loving absorption to Krishna is. Externally, they may be just coming to the temple, chanting. They may be doing like a regular devotees, but internally their absorption is very deep. But those who are imitation, they want to show the other part first. External part first. Internally, they want to hide up all the stuff. And the advanced devotees are the opposite. Internally they meditate, externally they don't show as if they are. Mahaprabhu was the perfect, he was the topmost devotee, he is the Supreme Lord himself. He is the topmost of all the devotees. But he was so humble and honest, and externally he would still chant his rounds. He would be chanting his rounds. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, they were already on the platform of prema. They didn't have to follow a single rule and regulation. Every day, without fail, they would offer certain number of rounds, certain number of obeisances. They would do parikrama. Sanatana Goswami would do a parikrama of Govardhan Hill every day. It was his regulation. There was no need to follow all those regulations for them. But they would do it. They were like manjaris. They were the assistants and the confidential associates of Radharani, helping her in her pastimes of Vrindavan. But yet they would without fail do it every day. Like they were like neophyte devotees. So the distinction is, okay, timeline, Vaidi, krak, okay, Raganuga. It doesn't go like that. Even if you are in the Raganuga, the Vaidi still covers the Raganuga stage. The Vaidi is, the external is Vaidi, internally you are in Raganuga stage. So please, the reason why we bring up is, we might think that if somebody is manifesting some external symptoms in a natural or a weird way, natural way is somebody is just crying before the deities or rolling on the ground or perspiration or whatever, or somebody is in a natural way or a weird way is dressing up as gopis and trying to imitate the mannerisms of gopis. It's not a sign that that particular person is advanced. May or may not. Again, we cannot judge it. Let be like that. Make sense? Here is the thing. The Raganuga Bhakti or Ragatmika Bhakti is of two types. First is called, here it is there, right? Sensual, which is called Kamarpanam, what's the word for it? Let me look it up. It's there in Waves of Devotion. No. Can somebody please tell Mataji the difference so that I can...
Spontaneous love for Krishna.
Correct. So Raganuga Bhakti is spontaneous attraction in the sadhana stage. So we are still in the sadhana stage. Sadhana has two categories, which is Vaidhi and which is Raganuga. Raganuga is spontaneous attraction for Krishna, though on the platform of sadhana or on the stage of sadhana. But Raganuga follows Ragatmika Bhakti. Ragatmika are already perfected devotees. And Raganuga are the apprentices or the interns who are following Ragatmikas. Right. Ragatmika. Ragatmika are those who are already in prema, bhava and prema, and we can discuss that at length. Yes, sir. Bring it. So, let's take the word Ragatmika. Raga means deep attachment, extremely deep attachment. Atmika means one who is covered by that attachment, one whose soul or whose existence is made of that attachment. It's so, your very being is covered by that. Your soul or the very reason of existence is that raga for Krishna. It's Ragatmika. And then Raga, Anuga means Raga, those who have that deep attachment. Anuga, Anu means to follow and Ga means to go. They are following those who have Ragatmika. Raga, Anuga, Bhakti. So Raganuga or Ragatmika Bhakti is divided into two categories, which is called sensual or Kama Rupa, and then the second one is called Sambandha Rupa. So Kama Rupa is those who have a desire for conjugal attraction or want to serve Krishna as a lover. That is Kama Rupa. Kama strictly means lust, but please understand that Srila Prabhupada goes at length to say why the dealings of the gopis with Krishna in Vrindavan are not exhibitions of mundane lust or the love affairs between ordinary persons. Though it may, the reason why the Acharyas say that Srila Rupa Goswami used the word kama is to give the flavor of love. What is that love for Krishna? Because even in that stage, the whole desire for the gopis is to please Krishna. That's it. They want to, it may seem that the gopis want to enjoy Krishna, but the whole aim is to actually give enjoyment to Krishna, to be enjoyed by Krishna. That's the whole goal. That is called, the first one is called Kama Rupa and second one is called Sambandha Rupa. Sambandha Rupa means that you have a relationship with Krishna, either as a friend, as a father, or as a servant, or some other form of relationship with Krishna. Pardon? As a child. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Right. No. It's yeah. So you become father. Krishna becomes your child. Right. Yeah. Nice. Yes, you're right. Let's see what else. Second, Sambandha. Yeah. So the first is exclusively reserved for those who want to enjoy Krishna as their lover. So you may say that is a little odd because lover is in one category, all the others you have lumped into another category. Plus, when you say you are a lover of somebody, there is still some relationship, right? There is some sambandha. Then why do you differentiate? That's a natural question. The Acharyas give the answer that because the relationship with Krishna in conjugal love is a higher state of attachment to Krishna, and that's why it's bracketed in a different category. Not to say that others are less, it is just from the emotional exchange perspective, it's more deeper than the other relationships. That one point I want to clarify. I did repeat that before also. It's like you say, okay, you can be a father to Krishna, you can be a lover of Krishna, you can be a friend of Krishna, you can be a servant of Krishna. Why do you say that only one is better and one is less? No, it is not like that. For a soul who is already absorbed in their natural position to serve Krishna, that relationship is the highest. Let me give an example. Every one of us has a unique relationship with Krishna. It could be that either we are a friend of Krishna, or we are a lover of Krishna, or we are parents, something. But when you reach that perfection, you don't see anything else. That is your natural state of existence. But for the sake of a comparison, we do that the conjugal relationship is the highest. It's nothing against anything, nor you say that I pick conjugal love, I pick. No, you can't pick. You already have a relationship with Krishna. In bhakti, it will come out. Yes, she is the topmost devotee of Krishna in conjugal love. Even on the conjugal love, there are two types. One is called wedded conjugal love, the other is unwedded conjugal love. And Rupa Goswami doesn't discuss much. In the whole of Nectar of Devotion, this is not discussed much. The conjugal love for Krishna is vast topic, and it is reserved for. He has written one whole other book just to cover conjugal love with Krishna. And that book is called Ujjvala Nilamani. And that's even on a very higher level in terms of its esoteric nature in Radharani's dealing with Krishna. So, because that's why Ragatmika is just briefly mentioned here. This is a kind of a segue into Prema. So, alright. Let's, 246. So, there are two things that can happen today. One thing is I switch on the turbo button and then we go zoom at a faster pace, or we go at this pace and we'll have one more class later. Your choice. We can have one more class. Wonderful. Okay. Probably the next class we'll have a little more longer or something like that. In one class I'll just want to cover pretty much everything else. But these are very little technical, so I'm grateful for your choice, and I applaud your choice of having one more class, because there are some technical details that need to be covered. I promise you it's well worth your time of having more classes. So let's continue reading. Those who are online, Hare Krishna, please, we are reading from chapter 15 on page 120. Did we read that paragraph? The gopis may be considered? We have to read, right? Okay. The gopis may be considered to be examples of spontaneous love in sensual attraction. The gopis are young girls and Krishna is a young boy. Superficially, it seems that gopis are attracted to Krishna on the grounds of sex. Yeah, it's fine. Let's read it again. Similarly, Kamsa was attracted to Krishna because of fear. Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna, and because it had been foretold that his sister's son, Krishna, would kill him. Shishupal was also always envious of Krishna, and the descendants of King Yadu, due to their family relationship with Krishna, were always thinking of him as one of their members. All of these different categories of devotees have spontaneous attraction for Krishna, and in different categories they achieve the same desired goal of life. That's odd. Kamsa was fearful of Krishna, and Shishupal was envious of Krishna. Gopis loved Krishna. They got the same desired goal of life. Can I be a demon? Nice. Do whatever you want and I can get Krishna in the end. Yee, yippee. Alright, let's read more. There's something to whet your appetite right there. Let's keep reading. The attraction of the gopis for Krishna and the affection of the members of Yadu dynasty are both accepted as spontaneous or ragatmika. The attraction of Kamsa to Krishna in fear and attraction of Shishupal in envy are not accepted as devotional service. However, because their attitudes are not favorable. So those who are there for the first class, what is the definition of pure devotional service? Right, thank you. Let's belt out the verse. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttamam. So, the pure devotional service has 3 primary qualities and 3 secondary qualities. The 3 primary qualities are that it is for Krishna, it is favorable, and it is some activity, right? Krishna, Anushilanam, and Anukulyena. Because Kamsa and Shishupal, their attitudes were not favorable to Krishna. They didn't think of Krishna favorably. Theirs is not counted in devotional service. But still, that doesn't answer the question, right? How come they got the same desired result? It said that Kamsa got the same desired result as gopis. Let's read more. Yep. Right, but then why did he get Krishna in the first place? Because it is said they attained the same desired goal. Intriguing. Let's read. I'll answer your question, Rajiv. Now we'll come to that point. Devotional service should be executed in a favorable frame of mind. Therefore, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, such attractions are not considered to be in devotional service. Again, he analyzes the affection of the Yadus. If it is on the platform of friendship, then it is spontaneous love, but if it is on the platform of regulative principles, then it is not. Only when the affection comes to the platform of spontaneous love is it counted in the category of pure devotional service. Let's answer the question which we raised. There may be some difficulty in understanding that both gopis and Kamsa achieved the same goal. So this point should be clearly understood, because the attitudes of Kamsa and Shishupal were different from that of the gopis. Although in all these cases the focus is on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all of the devotees are elevated to the spiritual world, there is still a distinction between these two classes of soul. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the absolute truth is one and that he is manifested as impersonal Brahman, Paramatma, Supersoul, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here is a spiritual distinction. Although Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are the same and one absolute truth, devotees like Kamsa and Shishupal could attain only to Brahman effulgence. They could not have the realization of Paramatma or Bhagavan. This is the distinction. Answer the question? So, it is said in Bhagavatam that Krishna or the absolute truth is known in 3 phases, which is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But if you think of Krishna in an unfavorable circumstances, if you just think of him in hate or in fear or envy, there are certain things that make it special. Please understand. Even these people, they were not thinking of Krishna for some time and they were forgetting him. Kamsa and Shishupal, they were so absorbed in Krishna, 24 hours a day they were thinking of Krishna. Kamsa, he was seeing Krishna when he was eating, when he was sleeping, when he was walking. He was completely thinking of Krishna. Not favorably. But so only that sort of remembrance will at least get you to Brahman platform. Not that I do all nonsense and think of Krishna once in a while and Krishna, I hate you, and then go out, do all my nonsense. You will die and you will fall down. It is said that Vena, there is one king in Srimad Bhagavatam, he is the father of Prithu. Vena was an inimical person, he hated God. But his absorption was not on the same level of Kamsa and Shishupal, therefore he went to hell. He didn't get Brahman platform. So that 24/7 absorption in Krishna, even though in fear or hate, made them devotees. Unwittingly. They didn't want to be devotees, but they got their mind turned like that they became. Ripo Goswami, he gives an example. It is said that there is this bee. I don't know, I haven't seen it in a National Geographic channel or something like that. It seems a bee, there is like a large bumblebee or some sort of ferocious creature. It can take some smaller insect and trap it in the hole or a web, some spider or something like that. It can make another insect its captive. So that smaller insect is in so much fear of its life and so much fear from this larger insect bee, that in the next life, when it dies in that fear, it takes the form of a bee. Because the absorption was in that state, even in fear. So the Asuras were thinking of Krishna in fear 24/7. In the next life, they achieved Brahman platform. So not all the demons can get that particular destination. Most of the demons will fall down. Krishna says elaborately in the 16th chapter of Gita, that those who are demoniac mentality, I keep pushing them down to the lower species of life. So let's try not that route. Favorable service, maybe better. Makes sense? It's clear? Yeah. But because understand, in Brahman platform, there is no question of serving Krishna favorably. You are just achieved that platform. You have achieved the goal of Krishna, but in his Brahman realization, that's it. Make sense? Yes, Neetu Mataji. That's the very definition of sadhana bhakti. That it is done on the basis of either fear or obedience to Krishna. So that fear is okay. It's normal part of sadhana bhakti. It's healthy to have that fear actually. Very healthy to have that fear. That's okay. Sorry, that's not good to have actually. Oh, definitely. Most definitely. The reason I bring up is Krishna is called Bhavagrahi Janardana, which means that he accepts the bhav in which you do, not the actual substance itself. He may sometimes accept the actual substance, but most of the times he absorbs that love which you put in that substance. He accepts that bhav in your heart. So most definitely he will understand. He judges your intention. And the other beauty thing is you can never cheat Krishna on that count. In the material world, it's always about your result. If your result is there, then everything is right. Your intentions don't count. In spiritual life, your intentions actually count a lot. In fact, sometimes that could be the only thing that can count. So if your intention is straight, and Krishna will understand. The other thing is, anyways, let's not get there, fine. The one point here is Vidura. Krishna went to the house of Vidura. And then Vidura gave him the peels of banana instead of actual banana, because he was absorbed in the love. And did Krishna say, what are you giving me? He accepted it. Because he was accepting the love of Vidura, not the peel of the banana. And Vidura realized, what's that?
Krishna doesn't need anything. He's already fully satisfied in himself.
Yeah, but correct. But then simultaneously he needs everything also. That's why he says, you surrender unto me. Give me your soul. I'll take care of it. I still need it urgently right now. So yeah, in one sense he doesn't need anything. Another thing is that no matter how much, that's what I was trying to think. Sometimes when I was like new to Krishna consciousness, I used to see so many devotees. Really, Krishna needs so many devotees? I'll become, all these people are trying to serve Krishna. What will be my role in there? Yeah, maybe. But the thing is, Krishna is infinite. So his desires are infinite, his love is infinite. He can accommodate all the infinite souls in a perfect way. Even, he can put it in, let's take it in another perspective. If all the infinite souls of this world become perfectly liberated and serve Krishna, still he will have that desires, because he's completely infinite. So there is always that competition. So it's a never-ending thing. Our employment is secure in Krishna. So. Unless you resign, there is no question of getting fired. You say, I resign, all right, Krishna will say, okay, there is this material world, stay there for some time. Be happy, if you can. Questions? We are discussing this important point about how Kamsa and Shishupal, how they also got Brahman realization and how they achieved Krishna. So. I wish we had more time, but this is 3:00 now. We'll do a few more paragraphs and then stop, about 10 minutes or so. Okay. How is Avantika? Page 120, right? The last paragraph, last line rather, on page 120. An analogy can be given with the sun globe and the sunshine. To remain in the sunshine does not mean one has gone to sun globe. The temperature of sun globe is different from the temperature of the sunshine. One who has gone through the sunshine in jet planes or in spaceships has not necessarily gone to the sun globe. Although the sunshine and the sun globe are actually one and the same, still there is distinction, for one is the energy and the other is the energetic source. The Absolute Truth and his bodily effulgence are in the same way simultaneously one and different. Kamsa and Shishupal attained to the Absolute Truth, but they were not allowed to enter into Golok Vrindavan abode. Impersonalists and the enemies to the Lord. Impersonalists and the enemies of the Lord are, because of the attraction to God, allowed to enter into his kingdom, but they are not allowed to enter into the Vaikuntha planets or into the Golok Vrindavan planet of the Supreme Lord. To enter the kingdom and to enter the king's palace are not the same thing. Srila Rupa Goswami is trying to describe here the different achievements of impersonalists and personalists. Generally, those who are impersonalists and are inimical to the Supreme Personality of Godhead get entrance only into the impersonal Brahman when and if they reach the spiritual planet. It's a reach spiritual perfection. The impersonalist philosophers are in one sense like the enemies of the Lord, and because of the out-and-out enemies of the Lord and the impersonalists are both allowed to enter only into the impersonal effulgence of Brahma Jyoti. So it is to be understood that they are of similar classification. Makes sense so far? Okay. Let's read some more. They always try to place themselves on the equal level with the Lord. This is due to their envious attitude. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has proclaimed the impersonalists to be the offenders of the Lord. The Lord is so kind, however, that even though they are his enemies, they are still allowed to enter into the spiritual kingdom and remain in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, the undifferentiated light of the Absolute. questions, comments? So what can we do next? We can discuss more about this sensual attraction, and then maybe we should stop here. What do you say? And so we'll have one more chapter. We have chapter 16, 4 chapters to cover in the next class. 16, 17, 18, and 19. So 16 will be Raganuga, 17, 18 will be Bhava, and 19 will be Prema. So I don't know when we'll have the class. Shamalangi Mataji, whenever she says we'll have that class. Yeah, January, whenever you can. Okay. 5th is a Saturday. 6th. Yeah, 6th will work. 6th, everybody will be back, right? Even if they are gone on vacation. We are not going to have any classes during this. Or if the devotees want, we can have next week is tough. Yeah, we'll have it on January 6th, the final class. If need be, probably we can have a 3-hour session with breaks in between. And then we'll try to cover it from 1 through 4. We can have, and then if the devotees want, we can have one more revision session. But that's something which is entirely up to you. My request is that from the exam perspective, let's discuss a little bit. As I said before, the goal is not to test your memory. I will definitely not ask questions like list 64 items or nitpick on small memory points. But the thing is, the essence of the chapter is important and what you have understood that in that chapter. And then wherever the word important is, these are the important things, these are important. Please pay careful attention to those. For example, what's the 5 most important or potent devotional activities? So things like those, because that is the essence we can take away from this course. We may not be able to implement all the 64 items of regulation, but at least those 5 potent items if we know, and if we know their special powers, then at least that will enthuse us to remember and to at least follow it. When next time when a Srimad Bhagavatam class comes, you are not so averse to it, because a little bit of attachment to Srimad Bhagavatam is going to help me.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
So when does this course ends, when does the next one begin? February?
Yeah, let's start in February.
Okay.
We can, because next year we'll complete. So this Bhakti Sastri goes in 4 semesters. So we start with Isopanishad and Nectar of Instruction. Then the remaining 2 semesters are for Bhagavad Gita. And the last semester is for the Nectar of Devotion. So we completed Nectar of Devotion. There is no order in which you can take it. So you can join in the 4th semester, and then it's a cycle. So it can just, those who joined in 4th semester, they complete the 4th. Then you are getting credit for the 4th. Take 1, 2, 3, and then you're done. This is 4th of the 2nd batch. We are going to start one more cycle. This is, you can say, cycles. First is Ishopanishad. First is the easiest. There's 2 small books called Isopanishad and the Nectar of Instruction. And then second and third is, so second semester is the first 9 chapters, and the 3rd semester is from 10 through 18. So, we'll be doing the 3rd batch, or the 3rd cycle let's do it from February. I think quite few devotees will graduate because this is the end cycle. Quite few have graduated last semester, and then quite few will be graduating at this end. I think Shamalangi Mataji, you're done, right? Yes. 1 more month till exam. The exam is on the weekend of 19th, 20th. That is the date. But as we approach closer, I'll probably mention the date. Most likely it is going to be on Sunday, which is January 20th, in the morning time. That will be in the temple. Usually that has been we started our exam around 10 o'clock in the morning. because I have to talk to other devotees if they have some specific programs that they may need the temple hall for. In the event of no clash, then we can have it. Or if it's not on Sunday morning, then it will be in the Saturday afternoon time frame, after the Bhagavatam class is over. So that is the reason I keep like a weekend, so that as we approach closer to the exam, I can send out the exact date. But it will be in the temple hall. It's just you need to know the time and the date. That's it. It depends. Usually anywhere from 20 to 30, but it's more of low 20s would be the number. The exam will be having few essay questions, 1 or 2 essay questions, a lot of multiple choices and fill in the blanks, and sometimes I do like mix and match. So on the left column I give one, right column I give one, I jumble them up and you need to match. I try to make it as fun as possible. I don't want the devotees to come out of the exam and say, that root canal man was a walk in the park compared to this. So I try to make it as fun as I can. And unless one is really determined, he'll not fail. He or she will not fail. Yeah. Other questions? This is the last class for this year, so I'll just take a few minutes, couple of minutes, to actually tell my own feelings or my own experiences. But the first thing I want to do is I want to thank each and every one of you for tolerating me, for bearing with me, for encouraging me by coming here. Some of you have been extraordinarily regular in your class, and I'm extremely grateful. And when you come here, the whole purpose of this class was to facilitate discussion, ask questions. And then when you sit in the classes, we get more out of the subject matter than reading by ourselves. And that was the goal. Otherwise, each of us could sit at home, read, come write the exam. You don't have to drive all the way, I don't have to drive all the way. But the whole idea was to facilitate. Because there are so many courses online these days. And while the online concept is having its benefit, one distinct disadvantage is it takes away that personal touch. You just can't get that same joy as a live interaction from that sitting in front of a machine. No matter how visually attractive and dramatic and whatever it may be, it doesn't. Because when you sit in the classes, you have this question, you have that question, no, that's not right, I experienced this. All those flavors don't come out. And that's what kind of brings out. And that was the goal actually for the class. I wish more devotees had participated in the class, but this is optional. So that's the reason. And some devotees usually participate online, especially those who don't live in the Bay Area. So I am eternally grateful, and please forgive me for all my shortcomings, especially this year. I think one thing I definitely need to improve is few times I missed coming exactly at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Today also I was late by about 10 minutes. But fortunately nobody was there. Natalie was walking in and I was walking in. We came into the temple, we both were there together, that's it. So today's doesn't count, but otherwise I'll just make sure that we'll be on time. And it's exciting. Prabhupada's books, they give so much of wealth and knowledge, so much of happiness and contentment reading those, that nothing matches to it. And more in the modern life, there are so many obligations and so many pressures and so many other things to do. Not reading Prabhupada's books is very easy to happen. And when we have a structure in place like this, we take time, we take energy to read and to understand what he's trying to tell us. And when we read, then our intelligence is really strengthened. When mind says, this is all boring, what am I doing? Then your intelligence says, no, think about it. You can go out, but we are getting the highest benefit here versus going out and trying to get some cheap benefit. Why are you? So intelligence comes in and is able to reign in that mind. So that strengthening of intelligence is the biggest thing. And simultaneously, some of the books, if you read, you get directly Krishna, like Bhagavatam. Even a little attachment to Bhagavatam, and you will really like make a lot of advancement in spiritual life. And we do offer Bhakti Vaibhava courses, which is the next step, where we read the first 6 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam in a very systematic way, like we are doing now. And we have exams, we have things to do. So, yeah, actually, we have one batch going on. We completed the first 2 cantos. No. So the thing is, we do have, for Bhakti Vaibhava, we don't meet in the temple hall like this. Bhakti Sastri is really sweet in that way. Bhakti Vaibhava, we meet online. It's on a WebEx forum. Because it happens on a weekday, many devotees find it easier to do it online. But if the devotees want to come and have a class like this, I'll be more than happy. We are going to have one batch of Bhakti Vaibhava probably start next year. We already have one, and then we are going to start one more probably next year from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. All the way. And then we'll read the southern part of Nectar of Devotion. That really brings out the flavor of Krishna, the love of what exactly. We talk of prema and love of Godhead as if it's some vague, some very esoteric, some variable. Those who are computer, it's a variable. We can fill in anything in there, especially not anything. Rupa Goswami spends a lot of time just trying to analyze, dissect, to know what that love is and how that flows. So any devotees had any realizations to share in next few minutes, because after that I have to do this fire sacrifice.
We are so grateful to you because I have been with 2 years taking this one, and I guess you are tolerating our questions. Our question is not that great, which I can think of, but you are looking at that and answering in the right perspective. That's amazing. We should be really grateful to you. And other thing, the question about the Bhakti Vaibhava. So I think I would prefer if you can continue the same mode, and rather than online, it would be here. That would be absolutely, I would prefer that.
Okay.
I have to go for that next year.
And even those who are doing Bhakti Shastri, if you have the time, you can come and sit in the classes. Even if you don't have to read anything, just come and sit in the classes to get a flavor. Well do. And I am grateful to Shyamalangi Mataji for, she's been doing a lot of this administrative work of emailing stuff and all that, so I'm thankful.
I'm very sorry English to this class, because for me, I just can't do without the class. Online, they don't work for me. My mind goes here and there. So I really feel bad. I have to do it online.
Right. I did observe though, because even if you do online, there's a tendency you can do other things during online.
Your mind is diverted.
Correct.
Even though you are
Right.
but it doesn't mean nothing.
Correct.
That's why probably sitting in the first row, even in the regular classes, it's psychological, that just instructor, those who are back benchers, they can watch many people. What is worst one? So it's always good to be in the first row.
I just like sitting in the back bench during my school and college, but now I don't. I think your mind can wander even when you're in a class, but then you're forced to come back to okay, so this is an important point being made, I'm going to miss it.
Right. Nice.
Bigger the distance between the speaker and the listener is,
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Even in the class, when you see here, you see Prabhupada will say, listen to me. You see here, they will say, go and listen. There is no way that you can really do it.
Right. Yeah. What else? Any other points? Yeah, one of the devotees actually raised the point of homework. There are a couple of ways we can solve it. One thing is, I can write some questions up for homework and I can send it to you. The other option is that we can try a unique experiment of having open book for the exam. We have like 40% closed book and 40% open book or something like that. We can split up something where you take the closed book first and then you can have an open book later. Is that something which you want to try? Open book doesn't guarantee the questions will be any less easier. Right.
So even if you don't count them for copy, but sample questions, if we want, if voluntary, if you want, we can answer if you don't want that point. Something like that. Sample questions will be helpful.
Okay.
Especially questions when we have to understand what is being said in words. So it's going to be helpful for us also, because it's going to be, at least for me, it will be like the best way to learn is when you read a chapter or concept and then you translate it to your own words.
Right.
So you remember it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can send a homework. I think so. That's what I'm thinking. If I send you homework, it will be from the. I can club all the homeworks which I sent for the last batch. I can give it to you. Okay. I'll take a look at it today, and if I can, then I can send out also an announcement saying this is the homework for a certain percentage, and then you can do it. And the only thing is, I'll definitely need some volunteers who can take the homework and at least help me grade, because I may not have time for grading. That will be with the exam, because it's already like the day of the exam. Because usually in the past I used to have a deadline, but I used to give the homework way before. But this time it's a little late in the semester, so I would definitely put it with the exam, on the day of the exam. Right. I do agree. But the thing is, in the past I had homeworks, but I couldn't get time to kind of grade them because of it was like too much. But now that some devotees are passing Bhakti Sastri, and then I am hoping for some help on that front, so that I can get at least some devotees to help me out with the grading and collecting homework. Because previously there used to be a deadline. If you don't submit within this time, then you lose certain points. That was an impetus to submit it on time. And but then somebody had to keep a track whether that submission was done by the due date, and then if not, how many points should be deducted and stuff like that. So yeah. Actually, the other option is even if you can grade, I can give the answer sheet. Yeah, there you go. All right, thanks. So we will. Right. So I'll send an homework.
Bonus to even look at that.
Right.
Even after that, it helps you at least.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Right. Correct. That is true. Yeah. Since it is aligning with the exam, I can give you the answer sheet after the exam. Yeah, makes sense. I think for Vaisheshika Prabhu's lecture we might need it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Because if a lot of devotees come during the fire sacrifice, then we may have to remove it, right? Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea. That's right, yes. Thank you. Yeah. My apologies for I put in the printer. I just asked Shamalangi Mataji to get me printouts for something, and then I was in a rush, and I put it in my printer, and what came out of the printer was pure spaghetti. I just couldn't know the head or tail of what it was. So in the panic, I just called them up and sent it. Any other final questions or comments? All right. I will all see you on January 6th. If not, the following, which is January 13th. 1 week.